Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tuba Player Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last we left off, we had just completed a massive Mahong game, where we beat out Oishi and all them. Today we are kind of getting back into the story, hopefully. I don't know, I imagine they're going to drop some bombs pretty soon. I don't know, we're still in the beginning of the game, so there's still time to be lighthearted and stuff before the serious shit happens. So let's see what goes on. What's this, Kurudo, you buffoon? Where did you pull this professional from? I give up. Jeez, boy, it's your win. I surrender. Thank you very much. It was an honor.
いやいや、しかし赤坂さん、あんたなんで就職なんかしたの？あんたならフリーで十分に。
プロ雀士には腕と月の両方、私には後者がありませんでしたから。
好きなんてその時、あんたほどの腕があれば十分にいけると思うがな。
波の月じゃダメなんですよ。関したら3回に1回くらいはそのままカンドラが4つ乗って、ここぞという時に狙ってリンシャンが引ける。そのくらいじゃないと。
赤坂君。
いえ、イカ様でも超能力でも新宿で知り合った泣くたびにドラが乗りまくる雀士なんか、横浜で撃ったプロなんかは当たり前のように一発で引き当ててましたからね。私にはああいう月がないんです。
What type of folks were those? They weren't named Ryu or Satoshi by any chance?
というわけで、総合トップは私でよろしいですね。
Is that a reference to the Satoshi? I don't know. Well then, is it alright if I declared the overall winner then?
乾杯で。
負けたん久しぶりに大負けだ。
しかし結構怖かったぜ。
よく言われます。自分ではそんなに目つき変えてるそんなに怖い目になった。
Three of us nodded empathetically in agreement. That was Akaska-kun playing the Mahong prodigy. Before he goes home from his assignment, maybe I could have him go play at a high-stakes table in my place. But it's not good to get greedy. Nufu.
じゃあしか約束です。夜の学習会はこれで申し訳ありません。今夜はこれで。
しゃあねえな。消えて寝るわ。体力つけんと体が持たん。
お仕事が大変なんですか？
ああ、おやっさんはひなみ沢ダムの第一校区の監督さんなんです。
That man gonna die.
住民とは連日小競り合いをしてますからね。しんどい商売ですよ。
来年あたり第二校区も任されちまうかもしれん。黒田さん、血圧上がりまくりって聞いたしや。身が持たねえや。
おやっさんなら大丈夫でしょう。
He gonna die.
あなた、見た目よりも面の皮。
俺だって仏じゃねえから。腹渡にくり返る時あるぞ。特にその先のあの小娘は我慢がならん。あいつの顔面いつか簡単には治らんくらいに。
まあでも給料はいいんでしょ。かなり破格の給金だって聞きましたよ。
おっとりめえだ。あんなに世知辛い職場で給料が安かったら。クラウド、警察はいつになったら村の人間国から立ち退き命令とか出てるんだろ。
ねえ、どうなってるんでしょうね。
The old man, who identified himself as the foreman of the Hinamizawa Dam, spewed a few complaints until he felt better about it, and then left quietly.
行きましょう。あとは佐藤さんに
大石さんは帰られるんですか？
私が一緒でもお邪魔しちゃうだけでしょ。それに佐藤さんの仕事を買ったのは私は対価を払ってませんからね。
Ushi-san was kind of sketchy, but he was strangely conscientious about some things. I felt a bit of a gap between myself and Oishi's generation from that part of him that I didn't comprehend.
じゃあ坊主、いや、雀士様にもう坊主なんて言えねえな。赤坂くんでよかったっけ？
はい。
じゃあ赤坂くん、行こうか。では赤坂、また何か困ったことがあったらいつ。
大石さんにお支払いできるような対価はもう持ってませんよ。
Oishi seemingly still not having had his fill of playing around, but without overstaying his welcome, disappeared into the night. Okay, so who's Sato and what does he do? Is that Satoshi? Is Sato Satoshi? Oh, wouldn't that be some shit? Wouldn't Sato being Satoshi be some shit, dude? If you think about it, Satoshi should still be around. But I don't think he would be old enough to be Sato. And I think they described him. I don't think that he is Satoshi. Actually, now I think about it. But maybe. Favored narrow roads and made numerous short left
左
turns.
折法によるび
詳しいな。
Checking to see if you were being tailed by making left turns was a rather classic technique. If it was just a single pursuer, you could confirm it that way. But if you were being tailed as a team, this archaic method wouldn't let you shake them. Of course, doing it anyway was better than not.
赤坂君が何者かは旦那から何も聞いてないんだが。やっぱり警察関係か。尾行確認に詳しいなんて、あとは探偵者くらいしか思いつかねえね。
言わなければならないものでないなら
やれやれ。麻雀やってからすっかり雰囲気が大人びちまったな。会った時のあのおどおどしたあんたはどこ行っちゃったんだよ。
They smiled wryly. Looking back now, I had to be a little grateful for being made to play Hong. And now that I hear his voice again, he's like an old man. He's not really Satoshi's age. Thanks to that, I was able to relieve some tension. Eventually, Sato-san, confirming that there were no cars following us, slipped outside the city. We were on a pitch-black country road, unable to see anything besides lights outside. The only things I were able to hear were the hum of the car's air conditioning and the chirping of insects and frogs.
旦那からひなみ沢村については多少。
御三家という旧家による支配や現在は園崎家がい
そこまで知ってるならくだらないま。
では犬飼大臣の孫の誘拐に鬼ヶ淵死守同盟が関与しているか否かを
Sato-san checked the rearview mirror one more time to confirm there wasn't anybody behind us before speaking.
昨夜園崎本家で親族会議が開かれたそうだ。親族会議ってのはい
え
普通に親族会議って言ったらまあ親戚が集まってお茶でも飲むようなもんだが、園崎本家の親族会議っていうのはそんなのんびりしたものとはわけが違う。
A family council held by the Sonozaki main house. That would be a meeting between those who truly controlled Hinamizawa village. It wouldn't be talking about private family matters, as it would be about the village as a whole. About organizing activities against the dam project. Among other things, everything would be decided there. In reality, they were deciding the fate of the village. At the head of the meeting was Oryu Sonozaki, more or less called Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision maker of the clan. She was about to be... Oh, Empress Sonozaki, as the ultimate decision maker of the clan, she was to be feared and respected. Infirm with old age, she was often unable to stand on her own, but her words carried enough weight to sway the fate of a village. It seemed that lately she had grown weak, and on days where she wasn't feeling well, remained bedridden. Family councils that occurred when she wasn't feeling well took place with her on the floor. In the middle of a dignified Japanese-style room. Still in a futon, only the upper half of her body was sitting upright, a stern look on her face. That was Oryu Sonozaki. Sitting next to her was her heir, Mion Sonozaki. She was still young. No, young wasn't quite the right word. She was a girl who remained childish. Her role was merely to sit beside Oryu Sonozaki, sometimes responding to her requests. However, she was the only one deemed worthy to succeed Oryu. She had the same hawkish eyes, enough to give pause to anybody who so much as looked at them. Much was expected of her in the future, this granddaughter of Sonozaki's leader. And also, on either side of her, sat several other important members of the remaining three families, the Kimiyoshi family and the Furude family. First on the list for the Kimiyoshi family was, of course, the mayor of Hinamizawa village, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. and lined up beside him were several more of his direct relatives. Opposite them sat the other of the three families, the Furude family. The Furude family was only comprised of the family of a Shinto priest. So the ones sitting there were the priest, his wife, and their daughter Rika. Rika was doted on by many of the older folks in the village, and it seemed that Oryu was no exception. While the stress from just attending a family council was said to be enough to shorten your lifespan by 3 days, it seemed like Rika was the only one exempt from that. No matter how charged the atmosphere was around her, she paid it no mind, instead humming along as she doodled in a sketchbook. In fact, the night before, lying on her stomach while humming and doodling, she nonchalantly tucked her legs into Oryu's futon like it was a kotatsu. Is this the informant telling me all this? This was the three families. All around the room, lined row upon row, were relatives of the Sonozaki family. The only ones who were afforded cushions to sit on were the direct relatives. The others were left to sit in a seiza position, directly on the tatami mats. With Emperor Sonozaki enshrined at the center, they were almost like a giant snake coiled around the room. It was decided that everybody would sit in order of their rank. The number of people from the Sonozaki family was overwhelming. The fact that the Sonozaki family held so many seats at a meeting where everything pertaining to the village was decided made determining where the balance of power was held in the three families as clear as day. The numbers of the members in attendance from each of the families directly reflected how much influence they had in ruling Hinamizawa.
その会議で何が話されたんですか?
Sato-san, after remaining silent for a while, quietly began to speak.
マスコミ関係に支払ってる謝礼金の額が大きいんじゃないかい?
Breaking the long moment of silence was the head of the Kimiyoshi family, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. So this is, am I to believe that this guy that I've just met knows like fucking everything about this meeting? To the point where he knows that Rika was like playing with a coloring book or some shit. Because like, how and where and who is this guy? Yonegafuchi Defense Alliance wasn't a business. They were nothing more than a private organization pushing for the cancellation of the Hinamizawa Dam project with no reliable source of income. Fundraising had always been a problem. When they had first started operating, they had managed to collect a sizable amount of funds through donations, but as the conflict dragged on, the amount was steadily declining.
石を投げるだけが全ての時代じゃないさ。マスコミの力も侮れないのは重々承知しているし、今後もその力を借りたいのは同じさ。
The expressions of the people related to the Sonozaki family were sullen. As the one who suggested that they should borrow power was the family head Oryu Sonozaki. The battle wasn't just about force of arms. In this civilized age, there were civilized methods of fighting. Oryu suggested that creating a strategy incorporating the mass media that would be a good idea. Oryu's foresight was spot on, and the effects of that plan, while at first unclear, slowly began to manifest. If the physical confrontation of the construction site was meant to delay progress on the dam by even 1 day, then the propaganda war using the media was aimed at attacking the dam project itself. At first, there were those who had doubts about that strategy, but there was nobody now who called those results into question. But in order to maintain those media ties, a colossal amount of money was required. As long as the amount of funds they had was abundant, things would turn out fine. It couldn't be argued that it was a massive expense, but the results spoke for themselves. But with the conflict continuing to drag on, the circumstances had changed. The head of the Sonozaki family, though, the one who sat at the pinnacle of the Hinamizawa's three families, Oryu, had suggested the idea herself, so it was already untouchable, and continued to be allowed to drain from the budget. Nobody acknowledged it should be so allowed, but nobody could say anything. That was the price of dealing with mass media.
どう思うお嬢さん
The only person who could object to a plan proposed by the head of the Sonozaki household was herself. Herself was probably Mayor Kimiyoshi. Oryu, with a hard-to-define expression on her face, as if she had just served herself from the fetters of mortal emotion, simply listened quietly to Kimiyoshi's words. But really, it was hard to tell if she was quietly listening, or didn't even have the intention of listening at all.
去年機関士の値上げの理解を得るのにも随分苦労したじゃない。一度だけってことで理解を得て、まねえ古手さん。
The mayor looked to the priest and his wife from the Furude family for affirmation. The priest gave a vague expression, avoiding a prompt response. But his wife gave her answer without a second thought.
そうですね。機関士代は特に貧しい家には大きなみんな自分たちの村のためだからと耐えていますが、これ以上の値上げはやめた方がいいでしょうね。
The bulletin was, as its name implied, a bulletin published by the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance. It outlined the Alliance's activities, ideals, and resolve, but you couldn't deny that the contents were rather piecemeal. That bulletin's main goal wasn't to inform people, but rather to something to sell to businesses and people living in the village or connected to it, and using those sales to collect funds. In other words, it had become something of a tax. Of course, it didn't have to be said that this was one of the main sources of income for Onagafuchi Defense Alliance. Originally, purchase was supposed to be voluntary, but in Hinabizawa it had silently become the opposite. In the neighboring towns as well, it seemed many businesses were buying copies just to avoid butting heads with the Alliance. The priest whispered to his wife not to say anything unnecessary, but was struck down decidedly with a cold glare. Cowering from that glare, the priest shut his mouth. The priest's wife always held power in their relationship. That was because she was the only one who carried the Furude bloodline. The priest merely married into the family. He was nothing more than somebody who had adopted the name just to join the three families. He should have been able to find a spot fairly high up in the hierarchy of things, but the lack of authority in his voice meant that he had still not gained any favor. Casting a backwards glance at her rather disparate parents, Rika continued to doodle whimsically without paying them any mind. Signaled by a look from Oryu, Mion brought her ear closer to her grandmother. Something was said to her in a quiet voice. After responding with a couple of questions, with a nod from Oryu, Mion looked around the room and was conveyed by her grandmother's words. There will no freeze on the price increase of the bulletin. Kimiyoshi had made a face like he had bit into something unpleasant, but that expression quickly disappeared like it had never happened at all.
だけど君だって分かってると思うけど機関士の負担はひなみ沢の全てのにあんまり負担をかけすぎれば内部からどれって別にそういう意味じゃ
who on the inside would start that collapse? Jesus.
最初に崩れるのは誰かと聞いています。
Being cross-examined by a girl who still had fragments of childness remaining within her, the words struck Kimiyoshi's throat as he sunk into silence. Mion repeated her question once more, looking around the crowded room. Everybody refrained from making eye contact to avoid being pierced by her gaze. The words she had spoken were unarguably said in proxy for Oryu. That's why when Mion spoke them, they carried the same weight. But the look in her eyes was different. Like Oryu's, they had a cockish gaze, strong enough that anybody looking upon them would freeze in their tracks and yield. But that gaze was without question one that belonged to Mion herself. As Mion would eventually inherit everything from Oryu, the day when she would stand up as a young and capable leader in her own right would come. Nobody wanted to believe otherwise, even for a minute. That's why nobody even thought of Mion as just some sort of little kid.
君吉さん、機関士の値上げごときでは
誰の決意も崩れませんよ。
Kimiyoshi, while grumbling a little bit, made a gesture as if to say he had no objection.
マスコミ関係への出費は継続とします。その出費がさらに圧迫となるようなら、機関誌の値上げもやむを得ない。
Mion had rendered her judgment. Everyone bowed their heads, silently listening to her words.
園崎家当主代行、園崎美代、我が名において以上決定し、意にはこれを認めず、抵抗ある場合は実力をもって排除します。
Formal decree was read aloud, indicating her judgment. There would be no retrial, but there was a certain authority behind those words that even a courthouse couldn't compare to. If she was a judge, she would have banged her gavel, signaling that the matter was settled. Mion pulled out a large bell from inside her clothes and rang it. Everybody present could only prostrate themselves before the harsh sound of the bell.
なんとも大時代的な親族会議ですね。
How the fuck does he know all that?
あんたみたいな若いもんにゃこういう古い土地にはこんなのが未だ根強く残ってるもんさ。
It was exactly as Uishi had said. The old system of the three families had vanished, and now the Sonozaki family was running things by themselves. On top of that, their rule was borderline despotic.
会議はそれで終わりですか？
いや、まだ続く。先を続けるよ。
Eventually, after the ringing of the bell ceased, there was a deafening silence. After all that, a long man shuffled closer to Mion and whispered something in her ear. Mion asked several questions quietly in response. When she was satisfied, she motioned for the man to leave. The man who talked to Mion was a member of the gang that her father was the leader of. That organization had the entire area of Shishibone City under its control, so it was quite well known even here. Of course, this was talking about the criminal underworld, so it's not like just anybody would know. But just showing a patch with the gang symbol on it was enough to resolve any disputes in the neighborhood. Mion's biological father, to Oryu, was her daughter's husband. Mion's biological father, to Oryu, was her daughter's husband. What? The power of that man's gang was the driving force that controlled the dark underbelly of the Onaga. That's a weird statement. And so that man, from his position as the next in line to control the three families, continued to coerce everybody around him with his unconventional presence. Mion exchanged a look with her father. Is it okay for her to tell what she just heard directly to Oryu? It looked like she was asking him that question. What? How do we fucking know this? How do we know this? This is like a very detailed description of this meeting. And I'm like, yep, that's interesting that you say that. That seems like a very traditional meeting, or not a very traditional meeting. Like, how does this guy know all this? Mion also nodded and settled up to Oryu and informed her of something. Eventually, Mion finished conveying her message and separated herself from Oryu, and then fixed her posture, waiting for Oryu to signal her response. It wasn't often that Oryu showed any emotion. That's why when she started to laugh quietly, a vague sense of uneasiness crept over everybody in the room. Oryu was laughing so happily that Kimiyoshi had to hesitantly ask.
どうしたんだい？
我らにとって土地が母なら、この度のダムの騒ぎは母の命を脅かされる騒ぎっちゅうことだろうな。
Kimiyoshi, unable to comprehend the meaning of her words, looked confused. Oryu, with a wide grin on her face, turned towards everybody and addressed them with a clarion voice.
ダムの親玉の大臣がの、これでおあいこだの。
バカな。
Information on the kidnapping of Higurashi's grandson shouldn't have leaked from anywhere. How did they know? Even we don't know much about the kidnapping incident. Exactly, how did they... The question should be, how the fuck does this guy know that happened? It was a tranquil place, but I couldn't help but have an uneasy feeling about Hinamizawa Village. At some point, I had mentally filed this place away as unrelated to the incident at hand. That meant the mental paperwork had just blown away in the wind.
どうして鬼ヶ淵主導名が知っているんだ。
Sato-san, unable to come up with an answer, fell into silence.
すみません。
How does he know all that, but not the kidnapping?
続きをお願いします。
なあ
Please continue exactly describing the entire meeting.
建設大臣のお孫さんが
How the fuck
さらわれた
does he have like bugs in the room? And if so, how did he accomplish that? The Minister of the Construction's grandson was kidnapped?
お嬢さんそれは本当かい
Major incident was nowhere to be seen in the newspapers or on TV, but in Namizawa there was nothing strange about Oryu knowing something that the rest of the world didn't.
我らの痛みそれに値するとは思わんが少しは答えるといいんじゃなあ。
The last question in particular wasn't addressed to anybody in particular. It was this who was looking for a consensus.
だが土地と人様の子隠すのは構わんが怪我だけはさせたくないものよな。こりゃ何の罪もねえ。大事にしたれな。
それはつまり鬼ヶ淵
うん
どうして当主であるお領がこれほどまではっきりと。
兄さんこれはね園崎家のいつものことな。
いつものこと？それはどういう意味です？
Let's say there was a particular problem, one that wasn't exactly favorable for the Sonozaki family. If Oryu shows concern over that particular problem, hearing that somebody who attended the family council would be helpful. As a result, Oryu's wish would be granted. However, neither Oryu nor anybody else would know who actually did it. With this kind of clever little ploy, the Sonozaki family was able to manipulate events even though they had their hands laid out on the table.
では親族会議に出席。
あるいはそもそも犯人なんかいない。俺自身その万座の一同の中にただ自分の意見を述べただけさ。
Were they involved or weren't they? They were. I couldn't see beyond the veil. This how much I could say for certainty. The kidnapping was an ironclad secret. How high a position somebody was in, no matter how high a position somebody was in, even they wouldn't know about it. If there was somebody who would know about it, they would be connected to public safety. In other words, one of us. The only other options were people connected to the case itself. Including the minister, there would be people affected by the incident, or people that committed it. In any case, there was no way at all a household in a place removed from Tokyo by over 6 hours of highway travel should know about it. Them knowing at all was already strange. My suspicions began to accumulate, like falling snow.
孫の誘拐についてお領が述べたのはここまでだ。あんたの知りたかったことが含まれてりゃいい。あとは兄ちゃんの仕事だな。何のお仕事やってるか知らんけど、園崎家を相手にするなら相当の覚悟で。
How the fuck does he know all that?
大石の旦那は怖いもの知らずだけどな。最近は来てないけど、一時はオフの時も防塵ベストを着込んでたんだよな。
ええ、忠告ありがとうございます。
標準語が龍兄さんは東京とかの人？
え？それが何か？
Investigators were always close to danger. It was best not to divulge any information on myself, besides, like, everything to Rika the other day.
兄さんのお仕事だけど。
Your name, freaking that you have a wife,
ひょっとして
and that she's having a child.
警視庁の公安部の人ってことある？
Be the same as admitting it.
まさか。
こっから旦那からもらった金の範囲には入らないんだが、兄さんとは今日宅をサービスってことで話してやるよ。お領から誘拐の話が出た後、もう一つ話題が出たんだ。
It was you. Right before he told me this, Sato-san asked if I was from the Metropolitan Public Safety Division. In other words, what those two things meant caused a chill to run up my spine.
そんででね、 大臣の孫サラッターの東京からはるばる公安の捜査官が派遣されてく。公安の捜査官。大臣の孫の誘拐な。警視庁の公安部が独どうした？
Rika, who had been drawing the entire time, was completely uninterested in the conversation up until now. Looked at Oryu with an interested face as soon as the topic of public safety came up.
いいか、えらいの。誰が来たの？公安のどんな奴が来よったんか。誰ぞわかる奴はおらんかいな。
Mion's father raised his hand slightly.
新米の若造が一人と聞き及んでおる。新米？ほかほかなのですか？ええ、新米とか。
Mion's father smiled wryly as he answered Rika's question.
ほかほかのふか。ええ。ほかほかのふかふか。
Rika smiled with interest. Why did Rika suddenly act interested only when it came to this topic? That was a question apparently nobody had the answer to.
リカちゃまはその男のこと何か知んないのですよ。
After her father, or rather flat reply, Rika buried herself underneath Oryu's futon again. When she buried herself there, Rika no longer started drawing again, but instead was making an expression like she was deep in contemplation. Mion's father posed the question. He was the type of uncouth expression on his face indicating that, given the old order, he could snuff out the problem at any time.
しばらくはのんびりさせ。
泳がせろということでしょうか。
Mion's father asked in response. Oryu smiled thinly as she responded.
ほっといたれが。あんまりおいたが過ぎるようやった。なめられるのはすっきゃせんね。
なんて話があったそうだ。まさかあんた、その警視庁の新米じゃない？
まさか。
The sensation of cold, bristling fear began to crawl its way up my back. The family council had took place last night. In other words, yesterday. Then today, when I was dressed up as a tourist headed towards Hinamizawa, my cover was already blown. And I remembered the first person I met when I got to the bus stop. I couldn't breathe. And then the person who was waiting for me the whole time in the bus shelter, Rika Furude. It was an unthinkable image. No, it was a delusion. When we met at that bus shelter, did Rika-chan already know my true identity? Did she know that I was a Kasuga dispatched from the Metropolitan Police Department and come to meet me? Then, including Mayor Kimiyoshi, every villager that I met, everybody knew but just pretended not to? Because Oryu had given instructions not to interfere? Thinking about it logically, it didn't seem possible. I met quite a number of people. If there's people that are good at acting, then there's people that are bad at hiding things. If there were that many people, then there should have been somebody among them who knew I was from the public safety and couldn't hide their hostility. However, I didn't feel any presence like that. But then, even still, why did Oryu tell them to leave me alone? Was it because if they were careless about it, it would only raise more suspicion? Or was it because they believed a rookie like me wouldn't be able to find anything? Kasuga is a coward. I recalled that strange voice which only could have made me believe Rika-chan had been possessed. That unknown entity, no matter how you looked at it, knew my true identity from the get-go. And then, how did it warn me again? That's right. It warned me to hurry up and go back to Tokyo. Instead of the realistic worry that the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance had discovered my identity, the abused worry brought on by the unknown girl struck with me more. What exactly was that girl? What was the thing that I'd eventually regret? That mysterious girl, Rika Furude. Let's stop this. Everything I was thinking of right now was merely conjecture. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning, I'll report everything I heard right now to HQ and await further orders. There was no mistaking that the possibility the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance were were related to the case. There's no mistaking that the possibility the Onogafuchi Defense Alliance were related to this case was there. And the fact that my cover was blown meant that I was in a precarious position. But as everybody at HQ was already extremely busy, they might not be able to spare the support.
もういいかい？よければ好きなところまで送るよ。
では、お会いした元の駅までお願いします。
A rural road where even a streetlight was rare, I couldn't see anything. I wasn't aware of anything but the asphalt that was lit up by the headlights. Outside of that light, was it simply darkness? Or was something lurking there, waiting to strike? I had to think I drew the short straw here. I wanted to go back to Tokyo. For some reason, the voice of the girl warning me to go back to Tokyo still lingered in my head. Is that the end there? I believe that is time. That's interesting. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's kind of cool that they knew. I don't know how they knew. I guess they just knew. They didn't explain that. Also, that guy knew a lot of shit. Why wasn't my question, how the fuck do you know this, sir? Like, I feel like that's an interesting thing to go into. Let's read the tips now so don't forget about them later. And there's still time, so... Let's see.
昨日銀座の料亭でお会い、そういう話が出たんだよ。
別室の謁見でしょう。連中、公安に干渉しすぎですよ。あまり迎合すると悪い洗礼を残しますね。
犬飼大臣は公安の動きに不快感をあらわにしているらしい。多分月曜の町議で時間参ったな。
次回へは局長級に話つけてもらうしかないですよ。給料を多くもらってる人。
まあそうなると局長からは絶対に
あの人たまにどっちの味方かは。
まあ多分大臣を経由しての圧力だと思ってるけどね。全身の汗絞られて。でどうなの？調査の
期待してた濃厚なラインがことごとく外れて。
最近の大臣発言をまとめると、ひなみ沢ダムの計画の話が目立つっていう報告。
目立つっていうか、本当に微細な程度の違和感ですね。たまたま県議連でのスピーチだったから時事ネタを話しただけかもしれないし。
確か地元団体が過激に抵抗してるってやつだっけ？鬼ヶ淵死守同盟。確か赤坂君に調べてもらってたよ。
僕は連中には今回の事件は起こせないと踏んでいます。ですが疑わしいところのほとんどが赤坂君からはその可能性は否定。
なら調べてみる価値はあるんじゃないの？しらみつぶしなんだから残る疑わしい団体がそこ一つならやるしかないでしょ。
ま、調べる団体はそこだけじゃないんですがね。鬼ヶ淵と同じ程度のレベルで疑わしい団体になると人手も時間も残業代も。
赤坂君からさ、もうちょっと詳しく聞いてみてよ。俺はちょっと要注意に感じるけどな。
彼、村人とうまく接触できたって連絡してきました。現地の警察とも連携できてるみたいですね。
赤坂君との連絡密にしてください。それで彼からの情報が引っかかるようであれば。
わかりま。すいません、片岡市長。局長からお電話です。こっちに回しますか？
ああ、いい。そっち行きます。もしもし。
Okay. There's a possibility that they could send reinforcements, so that's good. That's if I can get over to them and call them. Do you believe that there are choices in life? Is this another one of those, like, what's going on? There are many people who lament the following. If there only existed points in life where there would be clear choices to make, we would be able to scrutinize those carefully and make decisions that would lead us to a better future. Every time I hear people lament as such, I cast it off as a rather trivial worry. If you were given the clear choice, it wouldn't be meaningful at all, and there wouldn't be any such path to a better future. Is this hard to understand? Let's pretend that in front of you there are two strange boxes. In other words, you have two clear choices. You open the red box or the blue box. A lot of things would be uncertain even with that choice, wouldn't they? If you don't have the option of picking neither, then your choice boils down to the natural impulse of opening the box that holds a better result for you. Then, after examining the box and shapes and features of each, and pondering many things, you have pick either red or the blue. If this was you, which box would you open? My instinct says red, because red's my favorite color, but I know... Well, red's not my favorite color. It's weird. I like red, green, and white. Those are my favorite colors. People say white's a shade, but screw those people. White's a color. I like black too, but I don't know. Like red, green, white, and black, I guess. Red, blue. I would choose that. By traditional meanings, then red would mean dangerous, threatening. However, that doesn't automatically mean it would be calm and relaxing inside the blue box either. I would choose red. In fact, it might even be that the colors are a trap and make you wary of the red box, and you have to open the blue. A trap. Could it be that the contents in the box aren't a reward, but rather a penalty? See, now you're at a loss. But if... Well, I have to choose a box, though. So, even if it's a loss, if I have to choose, it doesn't matter. I'll be at a loss no matter what. So it's not really like a downside that there's a loss. It's just I have to choose a box. But there isn't. You have to open either the red box or the blue box. However, I forgot. If you choose to open one box, the other will disappear. So you'll never know what the contents of the box you don't open. Got it. I'll just put that rule at the end there for you. Now, why don't you choose the red box or the blue box? It's alright, you won't lose by picking either one. Come on now. Oh shoot! I picked the red box. Have you thought about it? In the end, you chose this color, didn't you? As soon as you chose, the other box disappeared. I thought about it, and it was red. It was my instinct. Always go with your instinct. So, as soon as you chose, the other box disappeared. So you can give up on the contents of that one, okay? Done. Already forgotten. I have a red box now. And honestly, if what's inside the red box is terrible, I have a red box now. A piece of caramel. Why am I disappointed? I get caramel in a red box. It's only natural. No matter how you look at it, it looks like you drew the dot. What? This person does not realize the magnitude of what having a red box could do for you. You could store stuff in the red box, seal it up. You could send a present in a red box. You don't have to buy it. That's like $1 saved. Then you also get a bar of chocolate. I mean, a bar of chocolate would have been pretty cool, but I don't know if I care enough. In fact, there might have been an incredible pair of tickets to Hawaii that might have been in there. But even if you wanted to verify that, the other boxes already disappeared. Honestly, I'm happy with my red box and caramel. But if you think about it from now, I got a piece of caramel. This box is the winner. And being satisfied, or perhaps not, with such a cheap prize, you pop it in your mouth and start chewing happily. See, now, if I opened a box and there was a piece of, like, opened caramel just sitting in the box, I don't know if I would eat that. It would have to be wrapped. If you were given a second chance, would you try to open the other box? But unfortunately, the chance to choose between the red box and blue box is gone, and come and gone and not to be seen again. The chance to change your selection will never come. Don't your parents often say every choice you make in life only happens once, so choose carefully? See? Choices aren't that great after all. Aren't you a little disillusioned now? I don't know. Fuck that tip. I'm happy with my red. I understand the point that it's making. I know it's trying to make a point, but like, I don't give a fuck. I chose a red box. I got a free piece of caramel, and I got that wasn't poisoned apparently because I didn't die immediately after eating the caramel, and I have a red box now. Now, how big is the red box? I don't know. It could be just like a gift box, like a tiny little red box, in which case you could hold your pencils and shit in there. I don't know.
はい。それで、お通夜が明日の午後6時からになりまして、告別式があさっての会場は沖宮
か。池澤助役のお孫さんの葬式じゃ。みよ、代わりに出てえな。
うん、了解。喪服で行く？香典はいくらくらい？
学校の服でえんね。前の香典は5万。10万包んだりな。
100,000 yen. Is that like $10,000?
世話になったかな。
How many zeros do I remove? I don't know. Mion quietly whistled an how long has it been? Okay. They've done a lot for us. Mion quietly whistled an at the exuberant amount of money and grandson was offering.
池澤さんはな、沖宮の事務所長だった頃からしっかりした人だったんね。でもな、池澤さんはわしがお茶を勧めるといっつも上がってくれて、ちゃんと話を聞いてくれた。人の話を最後まで聞く、本当に鏡みたいな人だったんね。
The sight of them trying not to get on Oryu's bad side was humorous enough to elicit laughter from Mion occasionally.
池澤、
11歳だそうで。
Oryu closed her eyes and shook her head lightly, lamenting the loss of such a young life.
確か孫は親より先に死ぬほど。
ばっちゃんも他人には優しいね。私やシオンが死んだら同じように悲しんでくれる？
アホ抜かすんでね。演技でもねすったなんとシャラーまったく。
Having the reaction she expected, Mion cackled. The two guests, unsure if they were supposed to laugh along, instead forced awkward smiles.
それでは本日は失礼いたします。では明日の夕方5時にお迎えに参りますんで。よろしくお願いいたします。ではごめんくださいませ。
Bowing their heads repeatedly, the guests left by the front door. Mion saw them off, waving their little hand goodbye. Or her little hand.
帰ったよ。お役人もばっちゃのご機嫌伺いに大変だね。不法なんか電話でいいと思うのにね。
It was true that Oryu Sonozaki was a central person for both her relatives and the residents of Hinamizawa village as a whole. As a voting bloc, they numbered in the several thousands. It wasn't hard to imagine the mayor would try to pander to her. Unlike Mion, however, Oryu was looking up longingly at the sky from the veranda.
どうしたの？
誰のお孫さんであろうと気の毒だのう思ったんや。
Mion was let down, as normally her grandmother would have scolded her for her attitude.
みよ、これさらわれてからどのくらいになる？
4日かな。
旧敵の孫とはいえ気の毒だな。
そう。
十分気はせえたんろ。
Okay. Looked into her eyes, Oryu expressing her intention with only those eyes looked back into
お茶
Mion.
が欲しんで頼んでな。さっきのチョコレートも食べといね。
シミコさん、いますか？ばっちゃに紅茶入れてあげてください。
Far away, a voice responded in the affirmative. Mion, after confirming she had been heard, picked up the phone and began
あ、
dialing.
もしもし？ミオンだけど。うちのお父さん、います？
Huh. I don't know what that was. It seemed like I don't know. I don't know what that was. Is Oryu not terrible? It seems like there's a Yakuza thing going on, like a family of gang members, and like it's very much like a gang, but I don't know. I don't know the rules. I guess is the problem. I don't know the rules. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how dark the game's willing. I know how dark the game's willing to get. I don't know how magical the game's willing to get, and that's the problem, right? I don't know. In a lot of things, it's very laid out. It's like, here's how much the game's willing to get, and this game has hinted at stuff, but it hasn't actually done stuff. Like, it wants you to think that there's magical stuff, and that's the craziest part about this game, is it hasn't established its rules, and we're in the fourth episode, or the fourth, I'll call them episodes. So we're in the fourth episode out of the visual novel. I think there's a bunch of them. We're going to play all the ones that they have on Steam. And then whenever they release them on Steam, we'll probably play the rest of them. As far as... Actually, there might be ways that we can get the games other places. As far as I know, I don't know. I've thought that there were demons for a while, and I still think that there's demons due to the personality changes that you see in Keiichi in the third one, in Rena in the first one, Mion in the second one. Is it Mion in the second? Yeah, it's Mion in the second one, I believe. Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. You got to figure out how far they're willing to go, and then base your thing off of that. And I'm just waiting for the rules. I'm waiting for... what am I waiting for, really? Because even if they came out and said there are no demons in this game, that would then make me be like, what the fuck? Why would you say that out loud? There's demons in the game. And then if they said there's demons in the game, I'd be like, ha! There's demons in the game. So I don't know actually what I'm waiting for. Like, I don't know if I'm waiting for like an affirmation as to like magic. Definitely, I don't know. I guess what I'm waiting for is an explanation as to why the personality change happens. If I can get an explanation as to why that happens, I'll know the rules pretty much. Like why do they change into these like people with crazy like dead eyes, and they change into completely different people? Is it just like they're changing their personality? Because that seems like a very crazy change. And if that's the case, I guess, yeah, sure. But it wouldn't be very... This game has to have some kind of thing. And I've said this before, this game has to... It's beloved by a lot of people, right? This is a cult classic game. It's along the same lines of like Miraniki, Steins Gate. All of them have like followings, and all of those games, or at least in my experience, the other two, the former, the Steins Gate and the other one, they've had significant things that happen at the end or towards the end that kind of explain everything that's going on, and I feel like that's what's happening here. I've heard many times that this has functioned, that the way that this visual novel is separated is the first 4 chapters are kind of question arcs, whereas the last are answer arcs, and that's how this game is like described as being. But I can't imagine it, like I'm trying to imagine something that they do, right? That's like, what the fuck? Like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know, like that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for that moment. The idea that the reason I think there's demons is because of the personality change. If the personality change didn't exist, I wouldn't think that there would. I would be like, okay, this is a Yakuza thing, right? Like that's fine. There's just like they're getting serious or something. But because they change, and there's like dead people walking around in the second one, which I think they specifically put in there to confuse you, so that way you would think like, oh, maybe there is demons. And so there's this constant battle with this game, trying to figure out how far it's willing to go. And I think that's where I'm at right now, is I still don't have the rules for Chapter 4. I'm hoping that... I'm hoping that they give me something like as far as like an explanation goes for the personality change. It seems like this chapter is going to be all about Rika-chan and... Rika-chan. and kind of discovering what role she has to play in all this. Because we've gone through every character pretty much. We've gone through Rena, Mion, Satoko, and Rika. Those are the 4 friends we have. And so we're going through Rika right now, which is the last kind of friend. And then as per the previous game, they said we're going to be playing Shion in the Answer arc, which is going to be interesting. Because Shion is best girl, and I cannot wait to play best girl. Anyway, I'm gonna get into here before I continue to ramble on for years. It's just I could talk about this game and how it confuses me so for a long time. But I will see you guys in the next episode. I'm doing a backlog today, so this is one of many videos that I'll be recording today. So I'll probably play the next one pretty soon, actually, right after this. So. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Also subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's lots of visual novel and roguelike content. We will be trying to finish this game here, so if you're interested in that and you want to follow along, I know it's a trek, but if you want, you can stick with me and see the ending of this and see what happens. I will see you guys in the next episode of this, whenever that may be, and peace out, you guys.